The alarm goes off at 6:14. You know before you open your eyes that you are not getting up, not because you decided that. You didn't decide anything. Your hand found the phone in the dark the way it always does, and the number changed from 6:14 to 6:14 dismissed, and somewhere in the 40 seconds between the alarm and the silence, a version of your day died quietly without ceremony. You are not lazy. That is the first thing to understand. Lazy is a character judgment, and this is not about character. This is about architecture. The architecture of your morning, the structure of your environment, the invisible system you are living inside of right now was not designed by you. It was assembled by default, by whatever required the least resistance, by every small choice you didn't make consciously that accumulated over months into a life that runs on autopilot and calls it comfort. You get up at 7:51, not because you decided 7:51, because that is when the consequences of not getting up became slightly more uncomfortable than staying horizontal. You shower, you skip breakfast, or you eat something fast and forgettable standing over the sink. You're already behind. Not behind a schedule, behind yourself. Behind the version of the day you vaguely intended when you went to bed last night, with the quiet, private promise that tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow is today, and it is already 8:04, and nothing is different. Here is what zero actually costs you, not in drama, not in visible collapse. Zero costs you in the accumulated weight of a life, lived slightly below your own standard. Every morning that starts in retreat trains your nervous system to expect retreat. Every skipped workout is not just a skipped workout, it is a vote cast in the election of who you are. Every time you reach for the phone before your feet hit the floor, you are rehearsing a reflex that will fire 10,000 more times before you notice what it is doing to the quality of your attention. The science is not kind about this. Sleep researcher Matthew Walker documents that chronically disrupted sleep schedules don't just make you tired, they degrade executive function. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for long-term decision-making, impulse control, and the ability to choose your future self over your present comfort. You are not making bad decisions at zero. You are operating with compromised hardware and wondering why the outputs keep disappointing you. You scroll for 23 minutes before getting out of bed. Studies from the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology show that morning phone use before any intentional activity increases anxiety and reduces the sense of personal agency for the remainder of the day. You're not aware of this. You are aware only of the low constant hum underneath everything. The feeling that the day is happening to you rather than being directed by you. This is level 1. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just the quiet, expensive, ordinary cost of a life running on default. And here's the thing about default. Default compounds. The same way discipline compounds, the same way interest compounds. Every system you are inside of right now is growing. The question is only which direction it is pointed. Level 2, the first decision. It does not start with motivation. That is the lie that keeps most people at level 1 indefinitely. Waiting to feel ready, waiting for the version of themselves that wants to get up at 6, that craves the cold water, that looks forward to the discomfort. That version does not arrive first. That version is built, slowly, expensively. Repetition by repetition in the dark when nobody is watching and nothing feels good yet. It starts on a Tuesday. Nothing special about Tuesday. You did not wake up transformed. You woke up the same, heavy, resistant. The alarm at 6:14 doing the same thing it always does. But something is different, and the difference is so small, it almost doesn't count. You sit up. That's it. That is the entire revolution. You sit up before you pick up the phone. You put your feet on the floor before the algorithm gets your first conscious moment of the day. It takes 4 seconds. It costs you nothing except the friction of breaking a pattern your body has rehearsed for months. But here's what 4 seconds actually is inside a nervous system that has been running on retreat. It is a signal, a vote, a tiny piece of evidence that you are the kind of person who does the thing before they feel like doing the thing. Your brain does not know yet that this is going to become a pattern. Your brain is running threat assessment, checking whether this new behavior is safe, whether it is sustainable, whether you are serious this time, or whether this is another Monday intention that dissolves by Wednesday afternoon. You don't answer those questions. You just drink the water you put on the nightstand the night before. Room temperature? Unremarkable. 500 milliliters before the phone, before the coffee, before the first demand of the day lands on you from the outside world. Research published in the journal Nutrients shows that mild dehydration, equivalent to just 1 to 2% of body weight loss, measurably impairs cognitive performance, mood, and energy levels. You have been waking up dehydrated every morning for years, and reaching immediately for caffeine, which is a diuretic which compounds the dehydration, and then wondering why the first 2 hours of your day feel like moving through wet concrete. The water is not glamorous. The water does not feel like a transformation. The water is just water. But the water is the signal. The first brick in an architecture you are beginning to build consciously for the first time. Week 1 is not inspiring. Let's be honest about this, because the dishonesty is what kills people. Week 1 is just hard for no reward. You get up at 6:14, you drink the water, you sit in the discomfort of being awake before your body agrees it is a good idea. You do 10 minutes of movement, not a workout, movement, stretching, walking in place, anything that tells your body we are doing this now. We are choosing this. You feel no different by Friday. Your energy has not spiked. Your clarity has not arrived. The transformation has not been televised. And this is the exact moment where 80% of people at this level conclude that it is not working and return to default. But here is what is actually happening inside you at day 7 that you cannot feel yet. Your cortisol curve is beginning to shift. Morning cortisol, the hormone responsible for alertness and metabolic activation, peaks earlier and more cleanly when you expose yourself to light and movement within the first hour of waking. Your body is recalibrating, not dramatically. Molecularly, the hardware is updating in the background while you sit with the uncomfortable feeling of not feeling different yet. Rule 1. Discipline begins not when you feel ready. It begins when you act before you feel anything at all. You are 2 weeks in. The alarm goes off. You sit up. It is still hard, but it is a different kind of hard now. The heart of building rather than the heart of failing. And those two things feel different in the body even when the discomfort level is identical. Level 3. The build. Something is happening and it is quiet enough that you almost miss it. Week 6. You wake up at 6:08, 6 minutes before the alarm. Not because you set a new alarm, not because you tried. Your body moved toward the morning on its own for the first time, and you lay there in the dark for a moment, aware that something has shifted, not dramatically, just permanently. You have now exercised 31 of the last 42 days. Not perfectly, never perfectly. Day 19 you skipped because of a work deadline, and you felt the absence of it the way you used to feel the absence of sleep. The system had become load-bearing. Missing it cost you something now. That is new. That is the architecture working. Your stack at level 3 looks like this. 6:14 alarm, water immediately. 10 minutes of sunlight, or if it is winter, 10 minutes by the brightest window you have. This matters more than you knew. Circadian biology researcher Dr. Andrew Huberman's work at Stanford documents that morning light exposure within 30 to 60 minutes of waking sets the cortisol and melatonin rhythm for the entire day. You are not optimizing for performance yet. You are optimizing for a nervous system that knows what time it is. Then movement, 25 minutes now, not because you plan to increase it, because 10 minutes stopped feeling like enough. Your body started asking for more, and you said yes. 3 days a week you run. 2 days you do bodyweight work in your living room. 2 days you walk. 7 days you move. The streak is not the point, but the streak is happening, and it is 41 days and counting. Here is where level 3 gets complicated. The people around you start noticing, not always in the way you hoped. Your friend group has a standing Friday routine. Late start, slow morning. Brunch that becomes lunch that becomes the afternoon gone. You used to be the architect of this. You loved this. There is nothing wrong with this. But you show up now having already run 5 kilometers, having already eaten, having already had 2 hours of quiet, productive morning, before anyone else is vertical, and you sit at the table and you feel the gap. Not superiority, the gap. The distance between where you are building toward and where the conversation is. You don't say anything. Saying something would be performance, but you feel it. 2 people in your life are quietly irritated by your consistency in a way they would never name directly. One of them starts making jokes. Early to bed early to rise jokes. Jokes about protein and bedtimes and whether you've joined a cult. You laugh because you understand. The jokes are not really about you. The jokes are about the mirror. Your consistency is a mirror, and mirrors make people uncomfortable when they don't like what they see. You protect the system anyway, not from discipline as an ideology, but from math. You now have data on yourself. On the mornings you follow the stack, your output between 8 and 11 is measurably different. You close things. You think clearly. You make decisions from a position of energy rather than deficit. On the mornings you don't, the day costs you more than the morning saved you. The math is not complicated. You just finally have enough data points to see it clearly. Your sleep is different now, not just the duration. The architecture of it. You're going to bed within a 30-minute window every night, not because you are rigid, because your body started asking for it. Sleep scientist Matthew Walker's research shows that sleep schedule consistency is as important as sleep duration for cognitive restoration. Your brain is doing maintenance now on a schedule it can predict. You wake up less. You dream more. The first hour of your morning is no longer a recovery from the night. It is a launch. Rule 2. Consistency is not the absence of failure. It is the decision to treat failure as data rather than identity. Day 47, you miss 2 days in a row. Work, travel. The stack collapses under circumstances that are entirely real and valid, and you notice something important in the missing. You notice you want to come back, not from guilt, not from shame, from the felt absence of something that had become genuinely yours. That want is the signal. That is the moment you know the habit has crossed from effort into identity. You come back on day 50. Not perfectly. 15 minutes of movement instead of 25. Water and light and one thing done before the phone. Enough. The system absorbs the imperfection and continues running. That is what a real system does. Level 4. The crack and the push. Month 4 arrives and it brings something you did not plan for. The novelty is completely gone. This is the level nobody talks about because it is not inspiring. It is not the dramatic rock bottom of level 1. It is not the electric beginning of level 2. It is not the quiet momentum of level 3. It is just Tuesday. Again. And Wednesday. Again. And the alarm, and the water, and the movement, and the stack, and all of it is now so familiar that it carries zero excitement, and you are running entirely on structure with nothing underneath it except the architecture you built and the decision you keep making that no longer feels heroic because it is just what you do now. This is where most people quit. Not at the beginning. Here. In the middle, in the unremarkable middle where nothing is broken and nothing is thrilling, and the only thing keeping you moving is the system you built for exactly this moment, even though you didn't know at the time that this moment was what you were building for. Your old self shows up at month 4, not as a crisis, as a whisper. One night you stay out later than the system allows. You wake up with 4 hours and 40 minutes of sleep, and you lie in the dark and you do the calculation. You know what skipping the morning costs. You also know what your body has right now. And the whisper says, just this once. You've earned it. You've been consistent for months. One morning won't undo anything. The whisper is not wrong about the facts. One morning won't undo months of work. That is true. What the whisper is actually doing is negotiating the identity, not the habit, the person. Who you are when circumstances make the system inconvenient, whether discipline lives in you or only in the favorable conditions. You get up. Not at full capacity. You do 12 minutes of movement instead of 25. You drink the water. You get 20 minutes of work done before the day demands your attention. It is not the best morning you have had. It is one of the most important, because the version of you that keeps the system under pressure is a fundamentally different person than the version who only keeps it when it is easy. And that difference compounds over years into a gap so wide between two people who started in the same place that it becomes almost impossible to explain to the person who let the system go how the other person got so far ahead. Month 4 is also when the physical results arrive in a form you can no longer dismiss. You are not transformed. You don't have the before and after photograph. But you have climbed 4 flights of stairs without thinking about it. You sat in a 3-hour meeting and stayed sharp through the end. You had a difficult conversation and felt your nervous system stay regulated in a way it didn't used to. You slept through the night 6 nights in a row without waking at 3 a.m. with the ambient anxiety that used to be just part of your nights. These are not dramatic. They are not Instagram. They are the actual returns on the actual investment you have been making in the actual hardware of your body and your mind. Research from the American Journal of Psychiatry tracking over 33,000 adults found that just 1 hour of exercise per week, regardless of intensity, was associated with a 44% reduction in depression incidence over an 11-year period. You are not running a clinical study, but you are living the data. You feel the data and the quality of your mornings. in the length of your patience, in the size of the problems that used to feel impossible and now feel merely difficult. Rule 3. The system is not for the easy days. The easy days don't need a system. The system is for month 4 on 4 hours and 40 minutes of sleep when the whisper tells you that just this once won't matter. It always matters. Not catastrophically, just directionally. Every day is a vote, and at month 4, you are casting yours. Level 5. Unstoppable. Here is the truth about unstoppable that nobody tells you. It is not loud. It is not a montage. It does not look like a transformation from the outside in any way that maps to what you imagined when you started. You do not wake up at level 5 feeling invincible. You wake up at level 5 feeling like yourself. Fully, completely, in a way that you now understand you were not before. Month 7. You have exercised 156 of the last 210 days. You have hit your sleep window 74% of nights. You have drunk water before coffee every single morning for 19 weeks. The stack runs, not perfectly, consistently. And the difference between those two words is the entire distance between level 1 and level 5. Your mornings now belong to you in a way that is genuinely hard to explain to someone who has not built this. The first 90 minutes of your day are protected, not aggressively, architecturally. Your phone is across the room. Your environment was designed to make the system the path of least resistance. The alarm goes off, and your body moves toward the day the way a plant moves toward light, not from heroism, from habit so deeply grooved that the opposite would now require more effort. You are thinking differently, not in metaphor, structurally. The prefrontal cortex function that was quietly degraded at level 1 by chronic sleep disruption, cortisol dysregulation, and sedentary stillness has been rebuilt through 7 months of consistent input. You make decisions faster. You sustain focus longer. You recover from stress more completely. A neuroscientist would look at the activity pattern of your brain in month 7 and see a different organ than the one operating on autopilot at month 0. But the change that surprises you most is not physical. It is not cognitive. It is about time. You have stopped living in the future, not because the future stopped mattering, because the future is being built by the present in a way you can now see and trust. At level 1, the future was a source of anxiety because you were not doing the things required to build it. The gap between where you were and where you wanted to be was abstract and vast, and it sat in your chest like a weight you carried without naming. At level 5, the future is simply the compounded result of what you are already doing. The anxiety does not disappear, but it changes texture. It becomes data. Information about where to direct the next unit of effort rather than a verdict on who you are. Your relationships have changed too, quietly. The people still with you at month 7 are the ones who respond to your consistency with something other than a joke. 2 friendships deepened because you became someone who shows up reliably, someone with energy to give rather than someone running a constant deficit. 1 friendship fell away, not with drama, just with the natural distance that grows when 2 people are building in genuinely different directions and have less and less to say about the gap. You are not who you were at the alarm on day 1, not because you completed a program, not because you followed a plan to its scheduled conclusion, because you made the same decision enough times in enough different circumstances under enough different pressures that the decision stopped being a decision and became a direction, a permanent one, the kind that does not require daily renewal because it is simply who you are now. And here is the thing that the level 1 version of you could not have understood even if you had told them directly. The work did not get easier. You got more capable. The alarm still goes off. The resistance still exists. Mornings still arrive before you feel ready for them. Nothing about the external conditions changed. What changed is that you stopped waiting for the conditions to change before you moved. And that single shift, from waiting to moving, is the entire distance between 0 and unstoppable. It is not a secret. It never was. It is just a decision, made once, and then again, in the dark, without applause, without the version of yourself you imagined watching and approving, just you and the alarm and the 4 seconds between staying down and sitting up and the direction your whole life is traveling quietly determined in that gap. You already know which version of that moment you are choosing tomorrow. The question is just whether you let yourself know that you know. The system is not the goal. The system is the person you become by keeping it. Thanks for watching and see you in the next.